In the final winter of World War II, deep inside the Italian Apennines, an American artillery crew reported something no soldier had ever seen before. Every time they fired a shell into the mountains fired back. Not the Germans. Not hidden artillery. Not enemy counter-battery. The same angle. The same timing. The same sound. The same shell. And when the guns finally fell silent, the mountains didn't. This is the classified file known as Operation Shell Echo. December 1944, Apennine Mountains, Italy. The snow was falling sideways, pushed by a cold that didn't belong to Europe. Sergeant William Hawk Hawkins brushed the frost off his binoculars and stared into the valley below. Range, 1,600 yards. Elevation, 42 degrees. Fire 1, he ordered. The M2 howitzer screamed, recoiling on the frozen ground. A few seconds later. Boom. The shell detonated somewhere in the mountain fog. Hawk waited for the expected German response. But instead, he heard something else. A whistle. Same pitch. Same trajectory. Then. Boom. A shell slammed into the snow 30 yards behind them. Counter-battery, one soldier yelled. But Hawk stood frozen. His mind refused to accept what he already knew. They had fired one shell. The Germans had fired none back. Whatever hit them came from the exact direction they had targeted. Captain Ellis arrived from HQ within the hour. "You're telling me the mountain shot back?" he asked sarcastically. Hawk didn't smile. "Sir, the return shell landed with the same timing our round would have taken to travel. Same angle. Same arc." Ellis frowned. "Replay the test." They fired again. Howitzer, boom. Mountain, boom. Both explosions, synchronized almost perfectly. A mathematician from the Signal Corps later confirmed. If the Germans were firing back, their timing would have been off by at least a second. Artillery simply can't mirror that perfectly. Then came the strangest discovery. The fragments from the return shell were American steel. "Our own round came back to us," Hawk whispered. HQ ordered a recon team. 5 men hiked down the ravine and into the echoing valley. They found no German tracks. No tire marks. No fresh snow disturbance. No recoil marks. No smoke stains. No dug positions. No artillery of any kind. It was as if the mountain had swallowed the past. But the weirdest thing. In the snow, they found impact craters, hundreds of them. But only on the American side of the valley. Nothing on the German side. "Sir, it looks like shells only ever fell this way," the corporal reported. Hawk processed that. "If shells were only landing here, that means we've been in a one-sided conversation." To remove all doubt, HQ sent orders. Fire an empty round. No payload. No powder. Just a casing. The crew loaded a hollow 105mm shell. A metal tube with no explosive power. Hawk gave the order. Boom. The blank shell arced into the mountains. For a tense 7 seconds, nothing happened. Then. A return whistle. A hollow metal tube crashed into the snow beside them. Exactly the same weight. Exactly the same sound. A perfect duplicate. Davis, the youngest gunner, whispered. "The mountain's copying us." That night, the artillery crew refused to sleep. The valley glowed with moonlight, carving sharp shadows. Around 2:14 a.m., Davis shook Hawk awake. "Sergeant, listen." Whistle, boom. Whistle, boom. Artillery fire. But the crew hadn't fired anything. Hawk checked the howitzer, cold. Who's firing? Someone shouted. Nobody. The mountains were firing. Without them. Davis covered his ears. It's replaying the battle. Like a recording. Shell after shell slammed into the valley, not hitting them, just hitting open ground, as if reenacting a long-finished war. As if the mountains remembered. Back at HQ, a geologist named Dr. Callahan studied the fragments collected from the valley. His conclusion chilled everyone. These mountains, they're full of crystalline caves. The mineral dust can store vibration patterns. Hawk frowned. Like a record? More like magnetic tape, Callahan said. They don't just echo sound. They echo motion. Impact. Energy. Davis blinked. You're saying the mountain can replay artillery? Callahan nodded. The valley is a natural archive of war. Captain Ellis slammed the table. War doesn't replay itself. Callahan stared coldly. It does here. A decision was made. Enter the cave system, find the source of the echo phenomenon. Hawk led the squad down a narrow crevice into the mountain. Their boots crunched over frost-covered stone. The deeper they went, the more the air felt thick. As if holding its breath. Lights flickered on the cave walls. Then they saw something that froze their blood. A full German artillery crew. Standing at their cannons. Eyes open. Mouths open. Frozen in mid-motion, ***. Not dead. Not decayed. Just, stuck. As if someone paused time. Their hands still gripped their artillery levers. Their chief gunner's finger hovered inches from pulling the firing lanyard. But the cannons themselves were wrong. Metal warped, stretched, as if fused with the rock. Like the mountain had swallowed them. Callahan's whisper echoed. They aren't bodies. They're impressions. Davis shivered. The mountain recorded them too. As the team circled the frozen Germans, the cave trembled softly. A low hum, like a heartbeat. Then one soldier's jaw twitched. Only for a second. Then again. Davis screamed, stumbling back. Sergeant he moved. Hawk raised his flashlight. The frozen gunner's eyes shifted. Slowly, mechanically. Locked onto Hawk. Then. A whisper. Not from the German. From the cave walls. Fewer, Wiederholen. Fire, repeat. The mountains were speaking. Repeating. Replaying orders from 1944. Callahan backed away, horrified. This valley isn't haunted. It's looping. Hawk steadied his rifle. What happens if the loop reaches present time, he asked. Callahan swallowed. Then we become part of the recording. The cave lights flickered. Somewhere high above, artillery echoed. Not from the past. Not from a replay. But from the outside valley. Their own howitzer being fired. But no one was up there. Hawk felt the ground vibrate beneath his boots as another familiar whistle cut through the air. The mountain wasn't replaying anymore. It was learning. Copying. Evolving. Initiating. The loop was spreading. Hawk shouted. We need to get out now. The cave roared as multiple shells detonated outside. But before the squad could move, the frozen German gunner's hand finally completed the motion it had been stuck in for 75 years. He pulled the firing lanyard. The cavern filled with blinding white light. The RAF intelligence room froze. A message had just come through the Enigma intercept station. But it wasn't German. It was British. A British transmission from Flight Officer Samuel Ward, the same officer whose death report was signed 2 years ago. The message repeated. This is Ward, flight path compromised, don't let the plane take off, don't let them board, we were never meant to land. But the strangest part. The transmission was time-stamped tomorrow morning. The same date his aircraft originally disappeared. Major Harrington slammed the case file on the table. Ward burned with the wreckage. I saw the remains myself. This is someone spoofing us. But the radio tech shook his head. Sir, the voice print is a perfect match. 100%. The room went silent. Someone whispered. Then he's either alive, or something is repeating itself. The RAF forms a 3-man reconnaissance team. Lieutenant Parker, navigator. Sergeant Hale, mechanic. Corporal Reeves, signals expert. Their mission. Reach the abandoned Norwegian airstrip where Ward's plane crashed in 1942, and verify the source of the future signal. But the moment they land, their compass spins wildly. The air feels electrically wrong. Footprints appear in the snow, fresh ones, leading toward the hangar. Hale mutters. Yara, koyet har re hai nahi sakta. This base was evacuated years ago. They follow the tracks. Inside the dark, frozen hangar. A single aircraft sits covered in frost. The same model Ward flew. Same tail number. But the strangest thing. The propellers are warm. Reeves checks his signal scanner. It spikes so hard the needle snaps. And then. The radio in Parker's backpack turns on by itself. If you hear this, don't go near the cockpits. I made the mistake once, don't repeat it. The voice is Ward's. Older. Tired. Like he's been calling for decades. Against orders, Hale climbs the ladder. Maybe someone's inside. He wipes the frost from the cockpit glass. And sees his own face staring back at him. Frozen. Mouth open mid-scream. Wearing the same uniform he's wearing today. Hale stumbles back, shouting. The frozen version of him doesn't move, except for the eyes. They shift. Just enough to prove he's alive inside. Reeves' scanner finally stabilizes. Sir, the transmission isn't coming from a radio tower. It's coming from inside the aircraft. Like the plane is stuck sending the same warning through time. Parker swallows hard. So Ward didn't survive the crash. Reeves shakes his head slowly. He survived something else. The engines roar. The propellers spin. The aircraft begins rolling forward, nobody inside. The frozen Hale inside the cockpit begins pounding on the glass, silently screaming. Parker yells. It's reliving its final flight. If it takes off, he dies again. But the runway ahead of the plane is perfectly clear. The same conditions as the day of the original crash. The loop is repeating. Reeves grabs Parker's shoulder. Sir, look behind us. They turn. 3 frozen corpses stand behind them. Their own. Preserved. Iced over. Wearing the same uniforms they have on right now. Hale whispers. We didn't come here to stop Ward. We came here because we already died too. The plane's engines scream louder. And the screen cuts to black. The engines of the cursed aircraft roared like something alive, shaking the frozen airstrip. Parker, Reeves, and Hale stood between the plane and the open runway, but now they weren't sure which version of themselves they were. Because lying behind them, in perfect frozen preservation, were their own bodies, already dead, with ice forming across their eyelids. Reeves whispered. Yara, we're not stopping a loop. We're inside it. The plane inched forward. Inside the cockpit, the frozen version of Hale pressed his face against the glass, silently begging for help, eyes twitching, mouth stuck mid-scream. It wasn't a memory. It wasn't a ghost. It was him. A future him. A past him. A trapped him. Parker suddenly understood. This plane didn't crash, he muttered. It kept landing, over and over, at different points in time. And every team sent to investigate. He looked at their frozen corpses. Gets absorbed into the loop. The radio crackled violently. Ward's voice, trembling, exhausted, spoke. Don't try to save yourselves. You boarded the plane the moment you stepped onto this runway. Reeves felt something heavy in his pocket. He reached in. A boarding stub. Dated 2 years ago. Their names. Their seat numbers. Their signatures. They hadn't come to the plane. The plane brought them here. Hale screamed as the ground beneath them vibrated. Lines, faint, glowing, appeared beneath the snow, forming a circle around the aircraft. A Nazi experiment. Temporal displacement. A weapon that traps entire crews in a repeating moment of death. The same tactic they used on Ward. Now on them. Parker understood the real horror. Yara, the plane doesn't kill us. His voice cracked. It replaces us. Every cycle. With new versions. Forever. The engines fired to full power. The circle ignited, blinding, white-blue light. The plane surged forward. And their frozen corpses behind them suddenly inhaled, their eyes snapping open, as if waking from a nightmare. The living versions of Parker, Reeves, and Hale felt their bodies turn cold. Their fingers stiffen. Their breath stop mid-chest. And in the last second before the light swallowed them, Reeves realized. They weren't the rescuers. They were the replacements. The loop didn't need saving. It needed new soldiers to fill the old positions. A perfect Nazi machine that never ran out of bodies. The screen goes black as Ward's final whisper echoes. No one ever boarded the plane. The plane boards you. If you want more stories like this, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you've ever heard a real World War II mystery or a family war secret, tell me in the comments. Your story might be the next one I bring to life.